Welcome to a very exciting episode of the Fem Music Club. I have one of our Fem Music Clubbers who has been in the community for a couple of years and honestly is just a perfect comeback story. Maria Springer, the singer. You can follow her on Instagram. That's Maria underscore the singer. No, hang on. Maria underscore the
The underscore
underscore singer.
singer.
I'll have everything linked. But Maria is one of those classic stories of, this phenomenal voice, phenomenal muso who sang a lot when she was young. And then, went down, like we all do, went down a different path, career and family, and came back. It was actually quite a lovely story of how we met, but came back to music and singing and is now doing her second show. And she has a show at the Cave Inn this Saturday. Maria, thanks for being on the Fem Music Podcast. We've been talking about this for years, haven't we?
I know. Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Maria, when was it that you knew, I really want to be a singer? What was the moment for you when you were young?
There was never any other moment, really. I always just wanted to be a singer. I really wanted it to be my career, but I didn't really think about what that looked like. And back in the day, it was just an audition at the Conservatorium, really. And unfortunately, at the end of grade 12, I got laryngitis and became really unwell and bombed my audition big time, and didn't get in. Didn't get in on the audition, but my actual score wouldn't have allowed me to get in either, so had to repeat grade 12. But that absolutely crushed me, and I couldn't go back the second year and experience that all over again. So I kind of walked away from the music path at that time.
I think a lot of us can resonate with that story. I have a similar Conservatorium audition story, and I feel like when, especially in grade 12, there's so much pressure on us, to choose straight away, especially back in, I think, our generations. They didn't. There weren't enough of us teachers, saying, look, there's time, there's different pathways. And it was, like you said, it was just that linear progression of the con audition. And then for us too, both Maria and I, we actually did classical training.
Yeah.
That's the other piece as well. So you had a classical teacher. However, at the family, functions, you would sing Misalou or other Greek songs. But there was this love of soul, wasn't there?
There
Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I had an uncle. He was actually my dad's cousin, but he was an uncle to us, and he was a musician in Brisbane Greek bands. And, back in those days, Greek families would gather on, at celebrations, all just because, and he would always bring his keyboard and sing and teach me Greek songs. So that's how I learned my first Greek folk songs. I don't think I've ever really shared that with you, Mel, about this relative of mine. And
can we just add for context that Maria is of Greek heritage from Cyprus.
Yeah. So that was kind of really instrumental in instilling the Greek love of music. But I think I just always listened to lots of genres. And in my teens, I was obsessed with 50s and 60s music and listened to it ad nauseum. And I think back, how did we do that? We were physically going off and buying the tapes or the CDs and just, playing a whole album on repeat over and over until those songs became part of who you were. And yeah, so I loved the Beatles. Loved them. I loved Aretha Franklin, you know, Whitney, you know, all those big singers, Dionne Warwick, all the big singers. I loved Neil Sedaka. So anything 50s and 60s, I was listening to it, whether it be like particular bands or like compilation albums. Like I think I have a repertoire of songs of the 60s that no one has ever heard of. So I think it's kind of rooted in that love of older music, and then that sort of developed into more of a jazz interest when I was a bit older. Because I've come back and forth to singing over the years. Totally gave it up in my mid-20s, had the kids, and then when Dom was 2, so talking 2009, I rejoined a choir that I was part of in my teens, and that choir was for alumni and became like a community choir. And then at that same time, I re-looked at having some lessons, and I had lessons with a jazz singer. Wendy Murray was her name, and she lived locally to me, and she kind of introduced me to that world of jazz, and I really started developing that more in-depth interest, I think.
It makes sense, doesn't it? To love soul and love, pop and rock so much. It's that whole thing of tracing back the steps of those artists and their loves. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous, Maria. And the fact that you had all of that and you were learning that repertoire and still loving the traditional folk Greek singing as well. What were some of the
Absolutely.
songs that your uncle taught you?
Just the really like traditional ones, like the I can't even think of their name. He taught me the wedding one. Simeraya, simeraya mosinete. And it literally translates today there is a wedding happening.
So like we're talking those traditional songs
Very,
that the village would sing when
yes, as
as
the
a
bride
community.
is coming in.
Oh, that's special.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Mm.
And I used to play piano. I was pretty bad at it, but he would teach me a few little of the Greek scales on piano. Obviously, like your Sam Yodisa, these really, really old traditional folk songs that were just passed on from generation to generation. And my classical singing teacher was also an Australian-born Greek lady, and she also taught me some of the folk songs as well. I think Sarapula. Just there's so many. Like even if you're not a Greek person, if you heard the tunes, they would be recognisable to you because they're often played in Greek themed movies in the background. So yeah, that love, and obviously I had a father who loved to sing. When he married, Mum and he travelled back to Australia on the Patras ship, and he would get up and sing when they had, I don't think they were karaoke nights, but they would have been open mic kind of nights. And, there's photos of my dad who looked like Buddy Holly on that ship, with the mic at his mouth, and so music was very much a part of who we were as a family. We didn't even think about it. There was always music in our home, and my parents always loved modern music as well. So there was always music in the home. Yeah.
And I love how your shows now are like a melting pot of that. It's pretty much the music you were brought up with. So you still
Absolutely.
sing Greek as
Yes.
well at these shows, and you also have a bouzouki player with you. You have a young up and coming bouzouki player for this show
Do
this Saturday, Jasper.
Jasper,
Uh,
he's
yeah,
great. Yeah. And we have a
and
really special treat as well with the Bouzouki on
ooh,
Saturday. I'm not going to say anything yet, but there is a special treat and I think it'll be awesome.
am I going to cry?
No, I just hope everyone just is like, I just hope everyone appreciates the beauty of it.
I'm pretty sure we all will. And then I love that, so yeah, you still do those traditional Greek songs, but then it's a whole set of soul and jazz. You've sung at your last show, Etta James. Yep, you've done those Aretha Franklin ones. Is that what we are going
Yeah,
to expect for this next show?
it's a different set, completely new. I am revisiting two of the Greek songs that I sang previously, but all the other songs are completely new. There is more Etta James. There is an Aretha number in there. I couldn't not have a Carole King number. Linda Ronstadt, there's a little bit of country, a bit of a nod to Patsy Cline. And then there's also a couple of ballads from the 80s and 90s. So it's really eclectic set. It's very versatile.
Beautiful. Maria, how long have we known each other for?
I
When did
can't
we
work it.
meet?
It feels like a lifetime, Mel.
So
But
we met, we're both in Elenikis Fonez, so it's a Greek choir here in Brisbane at
I was
at the
only
Greek
there
Club.
for a very short time, unfortunately. I couldn't ever make
But
those
was
nights
that
work.
was that
I
three
was
years
always
ago?
in it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4 years ago. And then you at the time when I was offering the one-on-one singing lessons, you booked in for a singing lesson, and yeah, I was pretty much blown away by this beautiful, big, chocolatey, velvety voice. And what was take me through, what was the kind of the evolution? Like what made you think, yes, I'm going to give this a really good go again.
I
I'm going to be
think
singing on a stage.
when I was having lessons with Wendy all those years ago, that's 10 plus years ago, I probably started at pretty much the same point I'd started out with you, Mel. So I'd sort of regressed all that way back after all those years. And I'd had a number of lessons with her over a number of years. And she said at some point, I remember, she said, I'd pay money to come and see you, Maria. I'd pay money. And I just at the time thought, no one would ever pay money to come and see me. But when we met, I initially was asking you about lessons for my older son, Arthur, and then I just thought, no, no, I'm going to go back and do this. This is what I want to do. And I don't know what it was, but you just said a few things to me that made me believe that maybe I could. Obviously, back then when I had my very first lesson with you, I had a long way to go. There were all these glitches in my voice. And just the whole confidence thing, and not having sung seriously for quite a number of years. So I was really out of practice. But I just kept at it. There was something transformative in just being with the right person. And I've just been practicing and working at it pretty much from the day I started lessons with you. Not a day really goes by where I'm not even incidentally doing some kind of practice. And I don't think I've ever really dedicated myself to my singing in quite the same way ever in my life as I have in the last few years. And I think that's probably because of life circumstances that my family is at a point where I can do that. But also that I allowed myself to do that, because that's also part of the problem, isn't it? Like thinking that you need to be there for other people constantly and then kind of ignoring what your own true self is.
It's a very common story for a lot of femme identifying people. That idea of, we first and foremost need to be a nurturer for others, you know, and yeah, we forget about our own needs. And you know, I was going to say to you, I remember a definite switch when you went from I'm a student to no, I'm actually a singer, I'm a performer. And it really is, it's two things. It's a mindset switch, and it does come with a lot of giving yourself permission to step into that and believe it and actually practice affirming it. Is that right? Does that resonate?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if I can pinpoint where the switch happened, but certainly all the opportunities to perform, there was enough of those, and then enough performances on stage where one day that switch actually did flip. And I was just remembering that feeling of, oh, this is not as scary as it used to be. And I can actually do this. And I think also when there was a little bit of validation from other people. So when people did so kindly, you know, come up to me and say, that was awesome. People who'd seen my first performance at your very first, I think, showcase, if you like, or my very first showcase, someone who'd seen that progression pretty much at every show because they'd been there for every show. And they said, mate, that was awesome. And I thought, I've actually done it. That was the moment that I thought, oh my God, I've actually done it. And what I mean by that, not to big note myself in any way, because
please big note yourself.
Have I still have all the things that go on in my head, but that validation from someone and thinking, oh, I got on stage and I sang 2 songs that I love. Were they perfect? No, actually they weren't, but they were pretty damn good. And someone else actually, that same show, it was one of the jazz jams, and I don't know who she was. She just came up to me and said, if you ever have a show, I'd really love to know because I'd love to come and see you. And it just took me
amazing.
back.
You never told me that.
I
That
don't
is
think
so
I did.
freaking cool.
It just took me back to that time where I remember Wendy saying to me she paid to see me, and that was when I thought, I'm going to do this. And I sat on a set list for a few years and I listened to that set list, I don't know how many times, until I was actually able to bring it to fruition. And, you know, I had to push out the date a few times because there was no way I was going to be ready when I thought I was, when I thought I would want to be ready. But when it did happen, which was last August, that's when it was meant to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on a couple of things that you've said. So Maria spoke about validation from people at those showcases. So they were members of the Femme Music Club. So previously our community was called Fearless Singer, but we decided to rebrand because, you know, to have fear is to be human. And it makes us more interesting. And actually, our most powerful feature is the fact that we are these incredible women with stories. So hence the rebrand to Femme Music Club. So yeah, Femme Music Club offers, these jams, so jazz jams or showcases. And it gives opportunity to perform and cut your teeth. And what's actually something that Maria highlighted is you have this lovely community around you that goes, good job, mate, and actually talks on. I think everyone's getting really good at giving that very specific feedback as well, like the positive feedback. And yeah, can you talk on that idea of having that community around you as a support?
Yeah. Oh, it's so important, and I've just felt, I just have found a place where there's that sense of belonging. Obviously, I'm a person and human being with many different parts to me, and this community, fulfills a part of me that I needed to nurture and grow. And everyone in that community is incredibly supportive, and God, we all need that, don't we? We all need people in our lives who can boost us, who can just be there for us, who can see you in the good times and the not so good, who will listen. And you just know that they're there and that it's incredibly safe. It has just made the world of difference to me. And I think without that, I wouldn't be where I am right now, because obviously that support network is part of who do come to the show. But, then it grows from that as well. They're not the only people who show up, but because they show up, it just allows you to continue being you, and allows you to continue growing, and allows you to feel incredibly safe in what it is that you're doing.
Beautiful.
And that is so important. I think in the last few years, I've understood how important it is to feel safe. And I realized that there were many times in my life previously that I didn't. And I'm talking about emotional safety. And a group like this, if they can provide you with the emotional safety, the world is your oyster, really. You just are allowed to then grow and keep growing. And it's beautiful, really.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Maria. That was beautiful. The other thing that you touched on too is this idea of that you sat on your set list for a few years, but things have to happen at the time that they're meant to happen, and they do if you just stick at it.
I'm a true believer in that. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah,
No. Keep talking on that.
True believer in that. I really believe that, whatever you believe in, the universe, God, whatever, that there is a time for everything, and you just have to be tuned into yourself and learn to shut out noise and just really trust your gut and your instinct, and go with that. And I had to do that, didn't I, Mel? Because if you remember, I really wanted to put the show on pre even last year, but last year I'd set a date that it would be before my daughter leaves for London. And it just wasn't possible. There's no way I could have done it. I was finishing my final year of studies as well at the time, and it would have just put so much pressure on myself. And I kind of sat back and realized this is actually my journey, and I don't have to answer to anyone here. So I can actually make all the rules myself. And sometimes I might feel disappointed because I'm not going to get to put the show on before my daughter leaves. But you know what? My daughter's here for a lifetime. She'll get to see me again. She's seen me so many times. So sometimes it's just a bit of a reframe. And again, it's going back, not to reuse that phrase of giving yourself permission, but I think also showing some compassion for yourself and being empathetic to yourself.
Yeah.
understanding what your limitations are, but also allowing yourself to have limitations and then make decisions that you need to make based on that.
100%. That is so powerful, Maria, because another thing I think a lot of female identifying people do, they create these really hard rules for themselves, that things must look a certain way or be at a certain time. But actually what you're saying is, well, actually, because you do create the rules, you can use data like where you are in your life and soften those a little bit. And it still means that you're going to do the thing that you want to do, but you can just go a little bit easier on yourself.
Absolutely. Kindness goes a long way.
100%. Maria, I'm really excited about this Saturday. So coming back to your show, just letting everyone know it's at the Cave Inn. So that's in Woolloongabba here in Brisbane. You can Google it. I'm going to put all of Maria's links below in the caption, so you'll be able to follow her on Instagram, on Facebook. I'll also put her website, because Maria is not only an incredible singer, but she's also a counsellor. She's actually about to jet set, and we'll talk. I think, Maria, we're going to have you back for another episode. Because Maria is currently getting ready to go to Lyon after this, and she is going to present her thesis over there. So she has been especially invited. This is a very interesting woman that you'll want to know. So I'm going to put all of her links there, including the ticket link for the show this Saturday, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. How good is an afternoon gig, Maria?
The best times ever.
We're of a certain age group now where we play hard in the afternoon, and then we come home and put our most scraggiest 90 on and take the bra off and have an early night.
It's great.
Isn't it great? We've got a few minutes. Do you want to leave us with just a quote? I should have prepped you for this. Something that really, or something that you've read recently or heard recently. It could be a song, it could be a lyric, it could be a quote that you've just gone, yes, that. Or it could even just be something that you come up on the spot now. What message would you like to leave? Maybe somebody that has been a singer or a musician before and feels like they need a little bit of encouragement to get back into it.
Well, as you know, I work in the dementia space as a family therapist. And I guess what I really want to say, and one of the things I'm really looking forward to in the trip to Lyon is seeing other presentations. And I'm especially interested in, there's all this new research around tapping into creativity, music therapy, but not just music therapy, creative therapies. So it's new research. And look, we know, we instinctively know what the benefits are, but the links to tapping into creativity for brain health, I don't think we truly understand how enormous this is and the benefits to humans. One thing that comes up so much when I'm talking to people is they've lost their creativity. They've stopped tapping into their creative side and they crave it. And so, I love exploring with people, how might they go back and tap into a creative side, even if it's just a minute thing that they do. So I guess all I want to say is, if there is any reason that anybody listening is not tapping into their creative side, whatever that may be, find 2 minutes in your day to just start, because the benefits will be amazing.
Oh, mate, what a great message to leave on for this podcast episode. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad we finally made it happen. Hopefully I'll see you, listener, at the show on Saturday. The Femme Music Club members, we're going to be there. Please say hello to us. Please say hello to Maria as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll put all of her links below. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Mel.